Thank you very much for attending this session. We'll get going. We've got an hour to allow ourselves to get through 3 presentations. The presentations themselves are 12 minutes with 3 minutes after each for a couple of questions and answers, but we've then built in time at the end of the session to do some more questions and perhaps even pose something that all of the speakers answer themselves, just to gather some thoughts. So please do use the chat and the Q&A. I will keep an eye. I'll keep an eye on that. If you want to ask questions during it, that's fine if they come to you. Otherwise, we can just hand over at the end of each session. There will be some screen sharing during this. You'll notice I'm both the moderator, the host, and a speaker today. So I will do my best to make it slick in between times. So I think the first thing we'll do is I'll hand over to Camilla. I've got she's pre-recorded her presentation, which I will share on my screen. So if you bear with me, Camilla, I'll get that going.
Hello, I'm artist Camilla Brendon, and I'm here to talk about how I use my art to visualize ocean issues. Thank you for having me today. So before I get into collaborative projects I've been working on, I'm going to go through my background a little bit. I started a project called Coast in 2018, and that was built on a sort of career of fine art practice using found and recycled materials. So I went on a trip to the coast in 2018 and I became really interested in the amount of driftwood, tiles, rubbish, like plastics, other items on the beach. And I was looking at them really and from an aesthetic point of view, but I wanted to highlight how materials are available without having to get new things. So this is an artwork that I made during that time, I think from a Kent beach in the UK. So I was taking wood, taking bits of plastic, sticking it together, doing designs on it. So yeah, this project was going quite well. An arts organisation called Bow Arts put out an open call for an artist who was working with plastic and the history of plastic in the Regent's Canal, Lee Valley and Lower Lee, which is in East London, and that's roundabout where some of the early plastics, the Percocets, were invented. So I applied to this open call and I was awarded it. So I gave a series of workshops and they were held in conjunction with UCL, so that's University College London. So I went along to do the workshop. I'd got a lot of plastics from around the canal system, and the idea was different interested parties would come to the workshop and together make some sculptures which I'd finish off. Now, plastic researchers from UCL were there and they were actually looking into the degradation of plastic. And I became really interested in how plastic can be preserved and used in museum settings, and how the value of plastic for them was very much not the throwaway, it was the longevity of the plastic. And at the workshop they were met with artists from Bow Arts and other local artists and residents of East London. And it was really interesting because everyone worked together, talked about their experience of plastic, their experience as a consumer, and ways to maybe change the way we consume. So this workshop was named Humans Make Plastic by participants, and since I've taken the workshop, I've toured it, I took it to Ocean Action at the beginning of this year in Brussels. The artwork's been on show various times, recently at the University of Hertfordshire, where I led workshops in conjunction. That was part of an exhibition called Plastic Matter. Yeah, so this really, this experience made me realise how powerful working between disciplines was, and how I'm able to make things which are visually like intriguing and stunning, and how I have the power to convey more serious messages through my artwork. So I realised that I really wanted to start working with scientists, and my areas of interest were coastal and plastics, and coming more and more interested with canals and rivers as well. So it was around this time I started talking to Britt Alexander, my longtime friend, and yeah, she had become really interested in the series I was doing. I'll just show you a couple of works from the series. So this is the Plastic Inlay series, and this was trying to highlight the worth of plastic, as I mentioned, which I'd started thinking about in Humans Make Plastic. So this is the Plastic Inlay series. So it's mimicking a craft technique with gem inlay, where you can inlay precious and semi-precious stones. So this is a trunk from Limehouse Basin in London with fragments of plastic I've collected from the canals and Thames riverbeds. And then this is part of a different plastic inlay series where I've ground up plastics, which have also been found, and the log was found in Limehouse Basin as well, and crushed them in using an adhesive. And yeah, this is just to spark the question, what's plastic worth and how are you going to use it? So Britt commissioned me with the European Marine Board to make a work from this series to be awarded as a prize at Eurasian Conference 2019 in Paris. And this was the first time I'd ever been to a conference like that. I met policymakers, I met scientists, I went to talks, so I learned more and more about issues affecting the ocean, and something that Britt had been telling me, I realised plastic's a gateway to other ocean issues. So coming away from this conference, I was full of ideas, full of energy, and Britt and I decided to sort of start more formally working together. And she basically was going to give me topics that she knew about, which were important for the wider public to grasp. And I'd sort of brainstorm with her on ways that we could do educational workshops, art activities. I could make artworks to help improve ocean awareness and knowledge in the wider public of people that are into science, into art, and then anyone else in education and other people we could reach. So we decided to start working with phytoplankton. Now, phytoplankton, obviously really good for storing carbon and mitigating climate change in that way, and there are simple things we can all do in our lives by using more natural cleaning products, natural cosmetics, which will sort of help to have less chemicals in the water for their diet. Yeah, so Britt and I went on a research trip together sailing in Scotland, and this is when I actually saw the phytoplankton for myself, and became really passionate about sort of spreading the word of how important they were. So we developed a workshop series about phytoplankton, which is called Tiny Ocean Plants or TOPS, and we trialled it at an event run by Sail Britain. So we really wanted to engage people that came round to do something fun and educational. So we did a communal drawing of phytoplankton, we made natural household cleaners and designed our phytoplankton logo. And then we made some giant phytoplankton or tops which people could wear, and had a lot of photos with them. So again, this is using cheap found recycled materials, simple ingredients for household cleaners to learn and do something fun but then sticks in your mind. And I'm taking this project on next year with Kensington and Chelsea, the borough where I live, to do a larger series of workshops with families and to make an open air exhibition with phytoplankton sculpture by the Union Canal. And I've also done it during the UK's lockdown with the Carver Arts Trust, where children at home have been making phytoplankton face masks. So yeah, we've been having a great time with that. So Humans Make Plastic and TOPS are ongoing projects. I should just say I also have made, during the lockdown, a series of collages inspired by phytoplankton using throwaway household packaging. And as someone who's more conscious about consuming less, I was just shocked when I stayed at home at how much gets thrown away. So I've made these in support of Thames 21, who work to help preserve the water quality within the M25 in the London region. And they do training and courses, so I've done a waterway cleanup course with them. So they're a really great charity working with the community. Now, through them, I met another group called the Lower Regents Coalition, and this autumn just gone, I curated a series of Humans Make Plastic events for the festival with the Lower Regents Coalition at Chisenhale Studios, which is the studio where I developed the gem inlay works. So that was in East London. And we were able to do Humans Make Plastic workshops online as well. So this is a way I've been working to connect people globally with Humans Make Plastic, and you can see that on my website. So recently, Britt and I have started a new area of interest, which is kelp forests. So we're treating them like forests on land with a canopy that store a huge amount of carbon, produce oxygen, and as you know, kelp also has other benefits as breeding grounds and ocean protection. So I'll get you what I've been working on. Yeah, so here we have a maquette or a miniature sculptural version of what we're making, which is the forest canopy in the different blues of the ocean. And this is so that people can feel connected to the kelp forest without having to dive, without having to travel. We've got the fishing rope, which I've collected off beaches, plastic bottles with spider plants, so that if people have these small maquettes or smaller sculptures, they're constantly reminded of the carbon store and oxygen production of plant life. And yeah, we were going to make a giant kelp forest connectable in sections to tour when COVID restrictions allow. And this is the next phase of our project. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed my talk. Have a look at my website, which is camillabrendon.com, and I have a whole CommOCEAN page where you can see links to everything I've spoken about, and you can get in touch with me. And thank you for coming.
I'm not seeing any questions at this stage. Lots of people sharing. Oh no, got one coming in. I think we've got somebody. I think Ali is typing a question. How do you find young people relate to art that goes on in their lives, homes, communities, schools? That person's. Can you see the question, Camilla? I think what we'll do, just to make sure we stay on time. So we've got some time at the end for questions. So Camilla, if you just kind of think on that one, and then we'll come back to you at the end. So what I'll do is I'll hand over the screen to Noirin now for her presentation.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Cheers. And Camilla, that was amazing. I am really jealous that you have a CommOCEAN page on your website. I feel like I've let the side down now because we don't have a CommOCEAN page on our website. But that was amazing work. And I think art is such a powerful tool. So it's lovely to see that in action. I'm just going to share my screen, and hopefully this will work with everybody. Beginning. Lucy, can you just let me know if you can see my screen now?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So first of all, going through it very fast there, just to say thank you for this opportunity to speak. We're delighted to be able to present today at the CommOCEAN conference. This is my first time attending, so delighted to be here. My name is Noirin Burke, and I'm here on behalf of the Irish Ocean Literacy Network. This presentation was put together by myself and a number of members from the steering committee, Aoife Dean, who's also in this meeting. So if anyone has any questions and they want to put it into chat, Aoife has very kindly said she'll keep an eye on that. Cushla Drumgold Regan, who is in another breakout room at the moment, so can't be here, John Joyce and Thomas McLaughlin. So our talk today is about a campaign that we ran called We Are Islanders. The campaign started in 2019 and ran again in 2020. And I just want to talk to you today about how we got the campaign up and running and also how it changed this year because of the current restrictions. So a little bit of background information just to the network first, in case you haven't heard of the Irish Ocean Literacy Network. The network was founded in 2016, and the vision of the network is to achieve an ocean literate society across the island of Ireland. And we heard there on the talks this morning, you know, the idea of ocean literacy and how important it is for the ocean decade. And it's amazing to think that this network has been up and running for so many years in Ireland already, and we've been focused on this theme. So the network is informal, but it is made up of a very diverse range of membership. You can see here that there's quite a lot of membership from academia and research. So we have quite a lot of members who are representing the different research institutions and third level colleges around Ireland. We also have quite a lot of members who are involved in public engagement and education. We also have membership who are from government organisations, from industry, from media, from charities and non-government organisations, and people who work in the arts and artists as well. And the other that's there is we also have some students from secondary schools, so before they go to the college level. Now, the network is made up of over 60 institutional members. There is a steering committee that has 12 members on it, and then the secretariat is run by myself and my colleague Gary Candellen, who are based here at the Aquarium in Galway on the west coast of Ireland. Normally what happens is the network is based around members' meetings. We have a website, we have social media, and we help membership to collaborate and work on projects together by sharing their news, sharing their information, or if they have any projects that they want to collaborate on, they can get in touch with us and we can share that to the wider network. So it's just a platform really for sharing. We're just helping our membership to connect and to share their voices. When we decided to run the We Are Islanders campaign, what we did was, sorry, this is our lovely steering committee here. So if anyone was wondering what Aoife looks like while our camera's up, her photo's there. Sorry, Aoife, I should be pointing out, but wonderful steering committee. So when we came to planning, thanks Aoife. When we came to running We Are Islanders, what we did is the first step was we had a members meeting. So we called it a Day of Inspiration, and it was held in DCU in Dublin back in 2019. So the network members actually came together to plan the event themselves, to create the assets, the vision for what it would be like. And then it was launched at Seafest, which is Ireland's National Marine Festival, which was held in Cork in 2019, and it was held around the same time as World Ocean Day. So we launched the campaign then. And the type of things that we provided for the membership was we provided them with printable content, assets, a guide to how to create digital content, and we helped them share their stories and share their voices and their messages, because for a lot of our membership, they were working at this event. So they were incredibly busy. They might be small organizations, maybe only 1 or 2 people. So we were trying to help to share their stories. This is a really small selection of some of the photographs that were taken at the original event, which was, as I said, based around this idea of We Are Islanders, or how we feel as an island nation when we look out the ocean, because we're surrounded by sea in Ireland. we're either looking out at the Atlantic Ocean, as I am today, or the Celtic Sea, or the Irish Sea. So we're surrounded by water. We asked a number of people as well to also record small pieces for us on how they felt when they looked out to the ocean. And hopefully this will work. I'm just going to play you 2 of them today.
When I look out to the ocean, I'm reminded of our very rich maritime heritage and all the different ways in which we rely on our oceans.
Sorry, it's a little bit glitchy. I just have one more and then I'll...
When I look out to the ocean, I feel energized yet relaxed.
Cuando miro al océano, lo que siento es paz conmigo mismo. Las olas me transportan a otro mundo.
So sorry, the audio isn't great on them. This was back in 2019 before we'd invested in any kind of recording equipment because we didn't really know what was ahead of us in 2020. So then what happened was we were really happy with how the campaign went. We got the We Are Islanders hashtag trending on World Ocean Day back in 2019, and we were really delighted by the feedback from the membership. So we decided we would try to run it again in 2020. Obviously, then with COVID, we couldn't all meet up. CFest didn't happen. European Maritime Day was meant to be held in Cork as well. So we had to move things online. So for this event, what we did was we tried to feature members' stories and their own events that were happening around the country using the website and the social media platforms. And we promoted again this using the hashtag We Are Islanders and using the hashtag World Ocean Day on the 8th of June here in Ireland. We were really delighted that both of these hashtags were trending, so we were just starting conversations and we were able to feature a number of members' news articles. And another really nice thing that was able to happen for World Ocean Day was we were able to share a series of features with our national broadcaster, which is RTE. So because of COVID, RTE have been learning, they have been using a learning hub for children for, instead of school or to have activities like going to school. So we managed to get a selection of 7 articles put up on the Learning Hub for World Ocean Day to share it with a wider audience. And we're actually in talks at the moment with the Learning Hub again to run another feature on the oceans and the oceans around Ireland at the moment. So hopefully that will be up around Christmas or early in the new year. Got really nice feedback again from RTE on the content, and this content was a mixture of materials from across the membership. So it had pieces that were kind of purely educational for people that worked in education and public engagement, but then it also had articles that related back to research and the work of scientists and academia. We're delighted to say that over the course of the 2 years and while we were running these campaigns, we have seen a growth in all areas of the network. So we have seen a growth in our membership, both in the individuals and in the number of organizations. Back in 2019 or 2018, we had around 40 organizations. We now have over 60, and we had around 80 individuals that we now have over 110. So we've seen an increase across the network. The website and social 2019, but since we're now looking forward, so we're trying to see how we can use these connections and use these different platforms to promote ocean literacy across all stakeholders, across society, using our connections and the diverse membership that is there. Science Week is an event that runs every November in Ireland to celebrate the science in our daily lives. We're really delighted to see a whole range of marine and ocean themed content and events were held as part of this year's Science Week. So I don't have figures for this yet, but I do feel that it's a significant increase. I'll have to go back and review last year's Science Week and the year before, but it was just so incredible to see all this new content being made available to the general public, to schools, to public and adult audiences. Information about all these events are actually on our website. So we have an article up on our website at the moment about all these new events and new materials that were released as part of Science Week. So if you want further information about those, check out the website and you'll be able to see links to them all in there. For our future, the network really wants to grow. It wants to engage with a wider audience through communication, wants to collaborate with partners across Europe and the world, and we're really looking forward to working with everyone for the Ocean Decade and for sharing and spreading ocean literacy. These are our contact details. I really hope I didn't go over on time, Lucy. I'm sorry, I never started my timer. These are my contact details. You'll see there the website. So we're also on Twitter and Facebook, and we also have a LinkedIn group. If anyone wants to join it, just send me a request. It's a closed group, but if you want to connect that way, and the email address is there. So yeah, thank you very much again, Lucy, for letting us present. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. It's really nice to see the evolution of a campaign, especially given the challenges that 2020 has thrown at us. Does anybody have any questions for Noirin now, or we can come back to them after the final presentation, if you want to think at the moment. Right. So now this is the time where I hand over to myself. So just give me 1 second to share my screen. Make sure I've got the right one. So hopefully now, is everybody seeing the seeing my slides? I've lost my video to see people. Noirin, are you able to just give me an audio cue, because I've lost my video in sharing my screen.
We can see the slides.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Sorry, I lost you all. It's so much easier in a room full of eyes, weirdly, than this. So forgive me. Okay, so this is a case study about the making of a massive open online course. It's my experience of the last couple of years of coordinating this activity, and it's something that myself and my team had never done before. So I think our learning curve was pretty steep. So I'm hoping that if anybody's considering doing this kind of thing, that this will be a helpful take on someone who's just come through the other side of it. There's no sound on these videos, I will say that. This course, although I would like. I don't know whether you can see that video playing or not, but it didn't have any sound. It was just a visual. So this course was a deliverable of a 4-year research project. It was a specific request from the funder to include a course as an output of the project, and for it to be aimed primarily at those working within marine industries in the Western Indian Ocean. The project itself combines science, technology and engagement, with the MOOC just being one element of the engagement activity. We also undertook engagement work with local communities, providing posters, leaflets with information about the project, focusing on the benefits to the community, and these materials were produced in English and Swahili. These are the first steps that we took when we started producing this course. We sought expert advice because we had been involved but not run a course ourselves. And there are a number of different platform providers for MOOCs, and the pricing functionality all varies. Some will also offer a production service and will, for an additional fee, film your lectures for you. So it's also possible to bypass a paid for platform altogether and host the MOOC on your own website if that's what you want to do. In our case, we chose to run our course on FutureLearn as it had a good established learner base, lots of functionality and lots of evaluation metrics. Then once we had a better idea of what was involved, we looked at the skills and capacity of the proposed delivery team and evaluated them against our ambition for the course. So who did we have to do this? The science team then sketched out a rough plan for the course based on the intended learning objectives. We knew we wanted the course to give people a real insight into the scientific research that was being undertaken and to involve as many of the project partners as possible. And they were spread across the UK and in the Western Indian Ocean. The fieldwork for the project provided these opportunities, and it was clear that filming for the MOOC had to be woven into that fieldwork programme. A first run date for the course was chosen around 9 months after the last fieldwork took place, and a timeline of activity was worked backwards from them. Lastly, the whole team started registering for and doing as many MOOCs as possible to give us a better understanding of what others were doing and what we liked and didn't like as learners. After some honing of the course plan from our initial thoughts, a 4-week-long course was developed. It did start out as a 6-week course, but we soon realised that our ambition had got the better of us and honed things back. During the 4-week run, the course was actually moderated with scientists from the project answering questions from the learners, both from within the platform and on online pinboards. For the remaining time the course is live, the course won't be moderated, but people will still be able to see those responses. And then we'll run it as a moderated course a couple of times over the year. Video lectures were a really big part of our course, but we also provided articles, discussion points, exercises, recommended reading lists, and quizzes as part of the course. Having looked at lots of different MOOCs, we were clear that we wanted loads of video, and we knew how we wanted them to look. So there were 3 things that we really wanted. They were to be consistent, engaging, and we wanted them to be presenter-led. So to do this, we've actually brought in additional resource. We hired a full-time filmmaker to accompany the team on their fieldwork and film on location. But this person wasn't actually in post when the first fieldwork took place. And so an existing member of my team accompanied the science team on those first and early missions, more or less teaching him how to do it on this plane on the way to Tanzania, to be able to get those footage, because you will never get another opportunity. If the team are out there doing fieldwork, you're going to have to film it somehow. So whatever you've got, do it. So, but you know, if the budget won't allow for a professional filmmaker, you can of course still get some really good results. And we did use an awful lot of that early footage in our end results. The second thing we did with the presenter is identified somebody from the project science team. Lots of different people wrote the lectures, but they were all narrated and presented by the same person. You don't actually see that much of her on screen. Instead, you hear her talking over the footage. She's very good, but it's much more engaging to watch that footage than watch somebody talking. And the third thing we did, the lectures were written by, as I said, the lectures were written by several different people. And so things like language and graphic styles could be really different between what was produced. So I provided an overview and editing, making sure the language was consistent. And then where people were wanting to use diagrams, we actually asked them to provide them to us as rough outlines or even just sketches, which we could then be reproduced by our graphic designer. So you saw some of the examples of the kinds of footage there as well. So having produced over 30 videos for this course, we did learn that there was a right and wrong order to do things in. And I'm absolutely not saying that this is how we did it every time. In fact, probably the opposite for most of the time, but it's certainly now how I will do it going forward and how I'd recommend it for both in terms of time saving and also quality of the end product. Can't stress strongly enough, everything stems from a completed script. So before any filming takes place, hone the script and lock it, which means no more edits past that point. Everything else you do will relate back to that script. So any changes can have a really big knock-on effect to it. And maybe even to get that stage, you might want to just record yourself speaking it out loud to check the length and how it sounds, or read it to someone who's not familiar with the subject to see if they can follow it and understand what the messages are. And then once you've got your script, everything else will come around it. We looked for cues in the script to help with the planning for the filming schedule. For example, in a lecture about food security, we talked about a certain method of catching fish. While the presenter is talking about it, of course, the learner wants to see it on screen so that you know then that for that section, you need to either film footage of it or you need to buy some footage of it. Fitting the scripts to available footage is a much more difficult and much more time consuming way round and actually can produce much poorer results. So you can see this workflow diagram that the responsibilities were actually split between the communications team, which was myself, our filmmaker and our graphic designer, and the science team who wrote the lecture. So things went backwards and forwards between us at each stage. And as I say, not the way we did it most of the time, but certainly the way we know that, that we should have been doing it all along. So of course, the course couldn't have taken place in 2020 without having a COVID impact. And actually, we hadn't filmed the last couple of lectures when we all went down into our first lockdown. And so the final content was actually uploaded to the platform only a month before the first run, rather than the 3 months that we'd originally planned and would have liked. But we still managed to get the word out, which we did by using our partners in the Western Indian Ocean. We provided them with marketing materials, digital graphics, that kind of thing. And we also offered free course upgrades and certification to students in African universities to encourage participation in our key areas. But the course itself, it focuses on the Western Indian Ocean as a case study, but it isn't just of interest to those. So we also promoted it through our own internal and external communication channels. And of course, in using a platform, you get access to all of the people who've taken their courses before and everybody who signed up to hear about new courses with them. So the first run started on the 5th of October of this year, as I say, ran for 4 weeks with moderation, and it will actually remain open until the 4th of January to allow participants who didn't manage to get it completed in that 4 weeks to catch up. So if you want to, there is still time to do it. So far on the first run, we've had 1,800 participants complete the course. And as you can see from our map, we have seen a concentration in the Western Indian Ocean, which is fantastic. And we're really pleased with that. The interactive pinboards that we use, we hadn't really used before, actually saw tons of activity, and they gave us some really good additional feedback from what was submitted as part of the course results, and also really good insights from the learners, insights that I know we're going to go off and use in lots and lots of different ways as well. We made a video trailer for the course, a sort of just under 2-minute video trailer, and it's been viewed nearly 3,500 times, and I think was a really big part in the engagement we had in the run up to the course. Social media posts without the video trailer received much lower engagement rates than those with it. So to summarise and end the presentation, these are my top 3 takeaway thoughts for producing a MOOC, or probably any course really. Time. This course was a massive investment in time, nearly 3 years of writing, filming and editing. Not solidly, of course, but because it was linked to a project and the project had fieldwork a couple of times a year, it took a really long time to pull everything together. Skills, if you don't have them already, start learning them now or buy them in, because certainly to produce the videos that we did, we really couldn't have done without our professional involved. And again, just stressing about the script, and this goes for any video making. If you get your script right and you sign it off and you lock it in, everything will be much, much easier after that. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I will put a link to the course on the chat if anybody wants it, but take questions to me, or in fact the rest of the presenters as well at this point. Provide any platform for the learners to discuss with each other? Yes, absolutely. Within the Future Learn platform, there is a chat function. So after each module, you can they can pose questions to each other, and there's always a discussion. And I think where you don't moderate a course, what we can see is you still do get some discussion within learners who might actually be more informed than each other and be able to answer each other's questions. Which tool did you use at the end? So the interactive pinboard we used was Padlet. I'm using our account a couple of times in CommOCEAN as well, just because we had such a good experience of using it on the MOOC. You can, I think, create 5 pads for free, and actually an upgraded account is about $99 for the year and for an unlimited. So I actually found it a really cheap way of doing it, and I'm using it internally and externally now. Do we have any more questions? Was there a desire for participant students to gain some sort of certification from having completed the course? Is there a need to have this? So again, the platform itself actually provides the option of an upgrade to learners. So if you're a learner, you can pay a small fee to get an upgrade, which then gives you certification. It's not a formal qualification, it's just certification within the platform itself. And so you can either upgrade and get certification for all Future Learn courses, or you can choose the ones that you want. And in fact, it was that certification that we were offering for free on that upgrade to our African universities, because yes, a lot of them actually did really need to take it, and it would be, you know, it's a substantial course. So we did find that people really needed that certification at the end of it, but probably the people who needed it most were probably the people who were least likely to do it, which is why we built into the model that we really wanted to offer that for free. Sorry. Oh. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, we were really aiming very high with our content on the videos. Some MOOCs have got such high production value that they you know, they look like a BBC documentary, and we knew we were never going to quite get there, and actually didn't want to. We wanted to keep it quite academic, and so I think there was a bit of a balance to strike. But you know, it was blood, sweat and tears, but we are really proud of it. How long did the course exist for? So yeah, of course, we've been running it. We were going to do a 6-week course, 4 weeks moderated, 2 weeks afterwards, and we decided to extend it because there were still people who hadn't finished it, and in fact we had actually had requests to extend it, so we've kept it going a little bit longer. Of course, you know, we've got a graph which has people signing up to start with and then dropping off and not finishing it, but we've still got, I think, nearly over 1,000 people who've actually finished the course, which is really, really good, and we're really pleased. We always knew that people would get a little bit way through it and then decide it wasn't for them. Do I think MOOCs are a good way for building ocean literacy in the UN decade, or the budget to create them for a long time? I actually think they're really good. Having forced myself to undertake a ton of them in terms of research, I actually think they are really good. They're so flexible. You can, yes, it was a 4-week course, but we had people who completed it within 4 hours if they had a day to do it, or people who have, like I say, extended it over the 6 weeks. So actually, in terms of a sort of really flexible learning tool, a MOOC is really good, but it is that massive commitment and the funding and the time to do it. So I'd love to see something come out from the Ocean Decade in terms of an online MOOC. I think it would be really fantastic. And if they can pitch it at kind of absolutely everybody, then I think it's a really good flexible platform. Lovely. We can, with our platform, we can run our courses as many times as we want. The fee is for a course, and we can just keep running that indefinitely. We're going to close it down on the 4th of January. We're going to have a 2-week break, and then we're going to start it up again. With the moderated courses, obviously you've got an investment in time from the people who are really have to be online all the time to answer questions. So if you do it not moderated, you can have an open course and people can just take it at any point. If you have a moderated course, you do need to start and stop it. And I think we probably will be able to run it several times. Question for Camilla, in terms of the UN Ocean Decade, are there opportunities to exhibit your work at events that you will hopefully run in support of that? Thames 21 might have events planned for later that year.
Yeah, hi. So I'm not sure about Thames 21 having events planned, but I have been looking at conferences coming up, definitely next year in Glasgow and one in Berlin, that we're looking to show some work. So I'm looking to take the giant kelp forest, and with the postponed conference in Glasgow, there's actually some art curators doing a parallel program, so hopefully I'll be involved in that. But so far nothing's set in stone because I think everyone's waiting, to see if it will be possible. And Totally Thames, which is the festival I was in earlier this year, do a programme every year. And again, I'm not sure if they're going to be highlighting the Decade of Oceans or not in their programme, but I could bring something like to, you know, as a voice from the decades to that festival in London to sort of get to more of a city audience inland. That would actually be a really good idea. Yeah, and I also can talk about engaging young people in my artwork, the question from earlier. I mean, workshops, like educational workshops, are a big part of my artistic practice, and I think for any age, like adults as well, but for young people to have a hands-on experience of seeing, you know, making natural cleaners as opposed to cleaners with chemicals in, and understanding how they enter the drains and how this water isn't always treated makes a real connection with our inland schools and household lifestyles and how it's affecting, you know, the coastline and then wider oceans. I had one other point about that. Yeah, same again with Humans Make Plastic and the collages that I've done at schools. When they see all the packaging, which normally would get thrown away, and when they begin to understand recycling isn't a solution, just getting to make objects with it and see how long they last. They've made like wind chimes and bird feeders out of biscuit packets, and I think that just helps it really sink in that these materials aren't going anywhere. So yeah, I try and engage them through a hands-on approach more than just looking.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I think we are coming to the end of this this session. So thank you very much to our presenters. Hopefully everybody got some good stuff about that. I think it was yeah, really interesting to talk about it. Just in one sort of last session, we were really interested in the European Marine Board to talk about whether we think that moving everything online in 2020 has been effective. I just wondered how you felt, Noirin. I think you were doing quite a lot. Do you feel like your online work this year is as effective as it has previously, or do you think maybe we've got a little bit of online fatigue creeping in?
I think online fatigue is a real issue. There's no doubt about it. I know I kind of have it myself, if I'm honest. The one thing I loved about this year, if you can say you loved something about 2020, was that the online platform was more accessible to stakeholders that we may not necessarily have engaged with. So we saw events, ocean events happening with inland science festivals that usually would never have engaged with us because they would never have thought of having an ocean event at an inland event, you know, at an inland festival. We were able to connect with wider global networks that were holding free global events. That was incredible. And even for our membership, we were able to hold a members meeting online and have an incredible turnout of people attend, have speakers from not only Ireland but Europe. So I think there are benefits, and the idea that we don't have to travel and build up air miles or carbon footprints to engage and connect, it has to be one of the positives, I think, from this year. But you can't lose the importance of face-to-face either. So a mixture is probably what I would go for.
I agree. Thank you very much. Camilla, how has your 2020 been in terms of your online activities? Have you been doing more, or have you tried things for the first time?
Yeah, I've been online significantly more. I think during Totally Thames Festival, it was in a brief period in London where the lockdown was eased. So we were actually able to sort of do what Noirin said, you know, she thinks the way forward. We had some face-to-face activities, and then the larger workshops I did over Zoom. And I've had a couple of art residencies where normally you'd go to a university or a studio and make a special body of artwork, and they've been online. So, you know, I think nothing replaces face-to-face, but it's just the same point that people, you know, friends and people that follow my artwork living in like South America, living in Asia, wherever they might be, have been able to actually hop on to like an Instagram live and make some recycled artwork with me. So it's just the same, really, the same points but in a different setting. And I've become much more savvy at promoting myself digitally. And I think, you know, coming to a conference like this, it's so much easier than having to travel there. So I think maybe a wider audience are able to listen to these talks. So that is a bonus.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I definitely echo those sentiments. So thank you very much everybody for your attendance. We're going to a lunch break now, so just look out for your emails for your next session links. Thank you very much. Bye.